Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. This is another episode of John the Sports Dad, and this is my talk show, the Grumpy Sports Dad Talk Show. And today I'm going to make a list of the top 5 best point guards of all time. So, the first one should come at no surprise. The guy had his career struck down early by HIV and could potentially have been, he still is in some because of the mind he was, but he potentially could have been the best of all time, and that's Magic Johnson. Magic Irving Johnson. Why? Why couldn't have the technology we had around just came a little bit earlier? Why? Magic Johnson. So he had a career average of 11.2 assists per game. 11.2. He was a 5-time champion. In his 13 seasons, he went to the NBA championship 9 times. He was a 3-time finals MVP, 3-time MVP, averaged 19.5 points per game. And as we all know, if you're averaging 19.5 points per game and you are by far a pass first player, he was the total package. He was everything that you could dream of. He had the persona, he had the smile, he had that way about him. He commanded the court, and not to mention the guy was 6'9", out there doing things like a 6-footer. Generational talent, best basketball mind to ever play the game. Magic Johnson, number 1 on my list. Number 2 is none other than Steph Curry. Still playing, still doing his thing. Most 3 points made, 3,273 points made, and counting. 2-time scoring champion, 2-time MVP, 8-time All-NBA, and he had a steals title one year. So this kid can play some defense, and not to mention the fact that he can shoot the ball. And they utilize him in 2 different ways, and I think that that's kind of one of the reasons why his assists don't show, because when you watch Steph Curry run the point, that guy can pass. But he's too valuable being a off-ball screen guy where he's running through a gauntlet of screens to get him to an open shot that you can't not use him as a shooting guard. So a lot of people will point at his stats and go, hey, but his assists aren't there, and you're right, but it's because when you watch his game, be a product of the game, don't be a product of watching the stats. He plays a lot of 2-guard, and that's all there is to it. Number 3, another current player, CP3, Chris Paul. Love that guy. I still want to see him win a ship. I'm bummed he hasn't gotten one yet. I think there isn't a more, him and Damian Lillard are the 2 most deserving players in the NBA right now. Wish no disrespect to Dame on this list. So a little spoiler, he will not be on this list. I love me some Dame time. Don't get me wrong, 71 points. You go get yours. He's just not currently on my list. In my opinion, he's a tad bit streaky. Tad bit. And not to mention the fact that he's a score first player. And almost all of my players on this list, besides the one, are going to be true point guards. What I view as a true point guard, a pass first player. And CP3 is that. And let's list off some accolades that Chris Paul has. 18 career points per game, 9.5 assists per game. So just under Magic Johnson in that aspect. And Chris Paul is what, 6'2", 6'3"? He's definitely not. He's 3rd overall in assists for his career ever. And he's 3rd overall in steals ever. And he's 4th overall in points. This guy has been playing for 18 years. And his first years were spent in Charlotte. Like, the guy didn't have a good team. And he has just been doing it for, God, I was a kid. I was a kid when he started playing basketball. And Rookie of the Year in, 06, I think it was? Is that when he was drafted, a little bit after LeBron? And Chris Paul is a dual player. He plays offense and he plays defense with the best of them. And Chris Paul, number 3 on my list. Now, number 4, I think that this guy is a little bit underrated. And I know that this might sound funny because he's going to be on a lot of people's lists, but Steve Nash is going to be my number 4. He's the shortest guy to ever win multiple MVPs. He is 7-time All-NBA. He has 5 assist titles. He never won a ship. Now, that is a problem, but I will say this, that Phoenix Suns team where he could have possibly won the ship with, they didn't have defensive players on their team. They were all about offense. They did not have a coach that taught them any defense, and I think that if they had been even a tad bit more defensive-minded, that would have been a different story. 44% three-point shooter for his career. 44%. It's higher than Steph Curry. This guy, when you go back, and I remember watching games with Steve Nash, the clinic he would put on the dribbling aspect of the game was so masterful and so planned out and so magical to watch. He would make players just look flat out silly. And you could tell the way he broke down the game, he never looked down, he never looked at his hands. His eyes were always up, always looking down the court. And Shawn Marion and Amari Stoudemire were such good players to have on his team because they were slashers, especially Marion. And Nash would just make the most masterful passes that personally I've ever seen. I've ever seen it. You know, Jason Kidd is on that list. I've seen obviously a few others through the years, but Nash did it, to me, the most consistent every single time he played. And you're not averaging 9 assists every game for your career for nothing. Like, this guy was the true package. The only reason that he is a little bit lower on my list was Nash was not a very strong defensive player. And because to me, offense, skill-wise, pure point guard, if he was a defensive player, he may be 1 or 2. For me, that's just my list. You know, that's what I think. Number 5, and this list I want to point out is a no offense to Oscar Robertson, Bob Cousy, Jerry West, any of these other guys from the old time. I just personally kind of view that era a little differently than some do. And so if any of y'all can hear, Cameron is chiming in. He's got his opinion, huh, buddy? And so come here, Cammy. Come on, Bubba's. Cammy wants his opinion on camera. Yeah. He came over to say hi. And I'm the sports dad, so gotta have the babies around giving their opinions, huh, Bubba? What do you think? And so my next player is number-wise the best. And he's got the most career assists, and this is obviously what I'm talking about. John Stockton, Gonzaga alum, Washington alum. I'm from the state of Washington. He's from the state of Washington. 11-time All-NBA player. 5-time All-Defense. 9 assist titles. 2 stealing titles. And he has a career shooting percent of 51.5%. 38.5% from the three-point line. I mean, do I need to say anything else? Obviously, he had Karl Malone for the majority of his career, where 13,000 of those 15,000 assists were 2. And so, you know, that tandem, that's probably the best tandem in sports history, even though they never got a title. I mean, shout out MJ. John Stockton was a product of the game, and he was a product of being a passionate player that learned to be he is the true definition of a point guard. You want your point guard, even though John Stockton was only 6'1", he went out there and he never gave up. True championship mentality. He played defense and he played offense as hard-nosed as he possibly could. I've so much heard Charles Barkley said that because, as you all know, if I remember right, John Stockton's Mormon. He has a bunch of kids, and that John Stockton would roll up in a minivan wearing some white New Balances. A bunch of kids would come pouring out, and he would bust your up. And I just thought that was one of the funniest things ever. As a fellow dad, I love that. And John Stockton, number 5. Again, no disrespect to anybody else. So I got Magic at my number 1, Steph Curry at my number 2, Chris Paul at my number 3, Steve Nash at my number 4, and John Stockton at my number 5. All right, guys, tell me what you think. And remember to like and subscribe to my page, and hit the comment section below. Let me know what you think. Thank you.